Hello there, and welcome back to the SWTVC podcast, the audio home of the SWTVC crew and the ongoing push for the continued existence, expansion, and success of the heritage scale of Star Wars collecting. I'm your host, Evan Fries, or as you may know me on Instagram, at Mile High Ground, and today I am joined by the majority of the rest of my SWTVC teammates, John, aka at The Vintage Concepts, Lewis, aka at Space Hut, and Tyler, aka at SW Collector 3.75. I think I got those all right. Alas, here we are on a Sunday morning talking about toys, not hanging out with people who love us, well, except for each other, and that is okay. I'm glad to see you guys this morning. How are you all doing?
Good. It's not morning here, but yeah, it's good. It's been a good day.
Listen,
day's nearly over, but yeah.
It doesn't count. It doesn't count where you're at, Lewis. 3 out of 4 of us are in a real place. You're wherever you are in Middle Earth or whatever. So
I hope Jason Atwell giggles at that one. Cheers, Jason.
Yeah.
Middle-aged Kiwi man collecting Star Wars figures.
Yeah, now I'm like anxiously awaiting to see who else in the community he's got a take on. So curious which one of us is going to be the target. Andor, huh? We're 6 episodes in now. Did I get that math right? Was it 6?
Yeah.
Yes.
Counting is hard for me. I don't know why. Because I went to public school. So far, I just caught up. I just watched episodes 5 and 6 the other night. I've been really bad about keeping up with this show. But are you guys enjoying it?
I love it.
Loving it.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal.
So good.
I've seen it's weird, isn't it? It seems to be a little bit divisive. Some people just seem to really dislike it, saying it's boring or it's not moving, and then other people love it. And I think it just seems to be a very divisive show. But I mean, I love it.
It's Star Wars.
Yeah, I was going to say, when was the last thing that wasn't divisive?
Yeah, true.
But
true.
I love it. I get some of the complaints because each arc does feel like a movie. So sometimes it feels like you push pause 30 minutes into a movie and then have to wait another week to watch the next 30 minutes and then push pause right before the big final action scene. But once you watch it all together and take it all in for what it is, it's really fantastic. And it's a slow burn, but it's building the characters and it's,
And we're only
introducing it to the
halfway.
world. Yeah,
That's
and
crazy.
So much more.
A lot of people criticized Rogue One for, they said that, oh, I didn't have time to grow with the characters, or, there was no time to build them out as characters, so I didn't really care about them when they all died and blah, blah, blah. And now that this show is doing the opposite and really fleshing out the characters, they're like, man, it's too slow. It's like, it's like, what do you want? What do you want?
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because if it was a Mando show, that Aldani kind of heist would have been done and dusted in 30 minutes. They would have done the training, they would have done the whole build up, they would have done the heist and the flying off, and it would have all been in one episode. And I think that's where people are so used to those little missions for Mando, those little one-off missions every week, that this
Quests.
is so different from that. Yeah, you got to get used to it.
Yeah. It gives us more time to, see the home life of Imperial officers or senators, which is like something I never really expected we'd see. Like I said before, like the fact that we had a scene where Mon Mothma and her husband are planning a dinner party, and it was just like so compelling. I was like, what? I never expected we would see this.
Yeah, and then they name dropped people like Sly Moore, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
I know who that is.
We didn't quite get to see her, but we still got to hear about her, so I'll take that.
Remember, there's no Easter eggs or fun things hidden in Andor for real Star Wars fans.
That moment in this latest episode when the TIE pilot was getting in the TIE fighter, like loading in from the top. I think, I said, we've seen it in Rebels and stuff, but I was just like,
so good.
That's like ASMR for Star Wars fans. It's like, oh my god, I need to see that again.
Click, boom, booting everything up.
John, we talked about it briefly on scrapped half of an episode due to time, but we talked about Andor a little bit after the first 3 episodes?
Yep.
And kind of talked about the divisive thing where you got people like, oh, it's too slow or too boring. And then the other extreme was just like, now this is real Star Wars. And it's like, it's all Star Wars, guy. Like, calm down. Just because you didn't like it. I don't like how it became this thing to hold up like on a pedestal of, you have to like every new thing that comes along has to be at the expense of something else that happened. It's like, nah, dog, that's a boring way to live. Don't do that.
They're all made by different creative teams. Maybe you like what this guy's doing better than that guy or whatever, and that's fine. It's nice seeing more and more creatives come into it. So in case you vibe more with one team than another, that's great. You can watch that show or whatever.
Yeah.
I think one of the criticisms some people have said as well is sort of not enough aliens and droids. But I think in the first three we saw a sprinkling of aliens and droids in the first three. I think as we've moved into the 4, 5, and 6, a lot of it has been focused around the Imperial base and Imperial. So you're not going to see a lot of aliens anyway.
No, they don't like aliens in the Empire quite that much.
I know, and people have sort of said, oh, you could put an alien in that group of rebels. But again, that wouldn't have worked if they then put in on Imperial outfits and they're going to, So you've got to think about how it has to work, I guess. So, I kind of get the criticism. It's always good to see aliens, but I just don't think necessarily in this corner of the galaxy it's going to be flooded with aliens anyway.
Yeah.
So
it's got to fit the story.
What, you didn't want them to do like a Rio Durant sight gag of him in a saggy Imperial costume trying to be in disguise?
Well, we got those awesome space sheep where they just kind of put some extra horns on real sheep. And I was like, I love this kind of stuff about Star Wars, but...
And
like
we've
a
got
forearm
quad
guy.
paw. Quad paw is just literally someone standing behind him with a pair of arms. You know that, but it's still great. It's great.
Love that.
There's an alien.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Kanata.
But it is a great show for people who are army builders. I think this is a great show because this, for Tyler, the Imperials, God, if Hasbro can deliver on this, then there could be some really good figures from an army building point of view. So,
well, that's the key, isn't it? It all comes down to Hasbro. And I've been wanting, Imperial officers in, trench coats or like rain parkas since Rogue One and Solo. I mean, so I'm glad to see that again, and hopefully they can, make that happen. Sort of. They just did it with the Black Series with that awesome officer with the rain poncho. I love that. I would love to see something like that in the vintage collection. Like, please make that happen. And they could potentially reuse that for Krennic. So on his Edu mission, but anyway, I think on a tangent.
Well, we talked about it before, but the fact that we have Admiral Piet coming, finally an Imperial officer body in the modern standards, this can lead to there's so many cool Imperial, not cool, but interesting characters, let's say,
visually appealing.
yes, but in Andor, we'll get into that a little more as we talk about the Andor reveals, of course. But
okay, choose your own adventure with this segue. Speaking of Andor, or speaking of Hasbro, or speaking of delivering, or speaking of army builders, there you go, choose one. Mail call, guys. We got a lot of stuff coming in the mail here, and that includes the Morag Din Djarin wave, which is, if you ask me, essentially an entire wave of army builders. That's all it is, the whole wave. And that's rad. That's expensive. So...
Yeah. Indeed.
Indeed. Tyler wincing, and it's not his back pain, it's his wallet. That wave is pretty good. I know I got my full case of that from, I think, was it EE or Dorkside? I can't remember anymore. It's all lost in the wash of where things are coming from. But the singles started shipping out from Amazon and Hasbro Pulse and Entertainment Earth. So that's how a lot of folks were getting them. But yeah, John, you have here the Death Watch Airborne Mandalorian is sick as hell.
That is.
Yes, it is.
Accurate. And we've discussed, like Lewis and I have said, that it's like they're all these Mandalorians, they're more or less the same figure, but sometimes with a different hands or, gauntlets or helmets or whatever. But I just love the coloring on the blue one, the Airborne Death Watch Mandalorian, with the little pops of orange and red against that blue armor. Obviously, the blue and orange, very nice contrasting colors, but it just looks
fantastic.
So
good.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite.
And I got a couple dozen of each of the Mandos that are currently, I got to put them to the side while I figure out some of my
careful now.
Space,
that Mando fatigue might kill the line. But I wrote under this,
I don't want any more awesome figures. No more.
Stop it. They're too cool. It hurts. Just real quick to get ahead of it. March Madness is 6 months out. We're doing our top 25s in 4 months. Don't waste your March Madness votes or numbers or whatever on Pre Vizsla. We have everything we need to make him except for a new head sculpt. Don't waste the vote. Like, he's the easiest thing for Hasbro to make at this point. Each day that they don't make him is a literal shock to my system because they have everything they need.
Well,
and almost one of the cheapest things for them to make. So,
And now they have an anniversary celebration in which releasing him would make more sense next year. So
yeah. So don't vote for Pre Vizsla and March Madness. Do not even put him on your list. I mean, do what you got to do, but we're not going to pay attention to that if you write him down.
Well, let's hope we've got him.
Yeah. No, I'm just gonna straight out come and say that Pre Vizsla is banned and barred from the tournament because it's supposed to be about newly tooled figures, and when you have 80% or more of the tooling, those characters are going to be disqualified. Like I'm telling you right now, all of you listeners. You got to start thinking about tooling.
That's not even 80. That's like 95%.
Yeah.
So.
Well, because last year we didn't have the Mando, so I get that. But now that we do, we're so close to getting him and Django and all these other.
Right.
And John, you've said this too. Like I get it that, we're pretty deep in the weeds when it comes to tooling and all that stuff. That's why you're here listening to us, or that's why you're following us on Instagram, just to kind of, learn a little bit about this stuff or enjoy it or have fun with it. And we're here to have fun with it too at the end of the day. So, but we can just help give you little nudges if there's anything you're unsure about. Like, do I need to put Pre Vizsla on my list for all new tooled figure? And we can all four of us just tell you, no, don't. So.
Yep.
We could give him an honorary mention, couldn't we? If he doesn't make the list and we still don't have him, we could say, Hasbro, he's not on the list, but we do want him.
Oh we'll bother Hasbro about it, but that's a different thing.
There's clearly demand. He almost won against Chrysanthemum this past year, which is insane. But it shows that there's a lot of love for Clone Wars out there, which they will be capitalizing on even more next year, hopefully.
Yep, and we'll get to that in a sec. But continuing the mail calls, the Walmart Finished the 96 figures finally came in. Lewis, you've had these for about, when was the last World War?
I can't even remember. I mean, I moved house about, 2 months ago? I had them when I moved, so... easily 3 months, I think. I don't know. I lose track.
Well, good for you. We finally got them, and it was nice. Walmart did that fun thing where it was like, oh, do you want some collectible figures? Here, we got some envelopes for you, and just shipping out in little plastic baggies and whatnot. I ordered personally 6 of each, 12 the Stormtrooper somehow. Surprisingly, got at least 2 of each in decent enough shape. But they didn't make it easy to return, but that's a whole different issue. I think it just had to do with the way that the pre-orders were structured for these, that they didn't show up as real items or a real order. So interesting. But anyway, how'd they show up for you guys?
Well, I'll say I didn't get any baggies this time. I got only boxes. So I got a generally pretty good sample of each of the 5 figures. My Isdam Edian had some of that white scuff mark, bubble, indentation, whatever that is going on. We need to come up with a term for that. We'll brainstorm that later today. But,
bubble scuff.
Bubble scuff, yeah. But another friend has a better sample of that I'll be trading with him. But otherwise, they're all right. Sometimes they would stuff too many figures into a box. So
kind of bent a little bit.
So yeah, I got a couple R2s that are a little bit messed up. But generally, I can't complain too much. This is the first round of Walmart exclusives with the thicker card stock, so I think that helped quite a bit. So that's at least they're listening in some respects, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Did just before you go, did someone say that Walmart are now doing a thing where you can tick a box, like where it says it's a gift, so that they will actually ship it in a box? Is that a thing now?
I've seen that workaround mentioned before. I don't think I've ever seen it actually.
I'm sure I saw a post recently on IG that someone had said that this is now a thing. I don't know, I may be wrong, because obviously being in the US, it's not something I actively participate in. So.
Yeah, it might have been Chaz.
Yep.
Yeah, I know you had the option to do that on Amazon for a while. I don't know if they still do it, but let's see what else is showing up. We got some more exclusives. The Target Mandalorian figures, including Morak Boba and Axe Woves. Again, Lewis, when did you get these?
Axe came in very late, actually. So, in fact, I haven't had him for that long. But again, the Morak Boba, I mean, that was, again, months ago. So, yeah, it feels like I'm sort of almost forgotten those things. I've had them so long. Yeah, Axe was a weird one that held up a lot of orders in the UK because they don't. A lot of the retailers over here won't ship everything. Won't ship until they've got the whole order in place. So Axe, taking as long as he did, held up for Costco and a lot of other people for a lot of collectors. But I think he came in a few weeks back now.
It was probably that giant ass helmet that held everything up. So
yeah. Extra shipping, extra load.
Oh my god! Yeah.
So let's talk about Axe Woes because we need to talk about Axe Woes.
We need to talk about Axe.
Hasbro, bro, what happened, man?
Yeah.
So what they showed in the promo pics was essentially Axe Woes with a swappable head, which we all assume was the Death Watch Mandalorian helmet repainted with the rangefinder that can rotate, swivel down, right? And then when the actual product came out, we got a removable helmet that's this gigantic, Easter egg looking thing, and it just looks terrible. It's
misshapen as well.
Yeah,
because of the bubble crushed it.
Yeah, it looks like an absolute casserole.
Like, who made this decision? I'm sorry, but whoever signed off on that, good Lord.
And because they had to put extra work into it because the figure is otherwise 100% that Death Watch Mandalorian from Mandalorian Season 1, so they had to go out of their way to make a new helmet.
Right. So it's like, why would you do that? I just don't understand.
And we asked them about it at the Q&A that we did. Their answer, I think, missed the point of that. Where
absolutely,
like, why did you make extra work for yourself? And they're like, well, we really like the likeness. It was like, we want the helmetless likeness, but
I think why'd you waste the question? I think they felt that the question was asking why removable or not removable. But I think, I think Chris missed the point of the question as why not a swappable rather than removable. Yeah, I think that's what he didn't quite understand, did he? Because I get. Like he was saying, they look at different ones and approach them differently based on characters and how they're going to use them. But it was frustrating to hear him say all of that and then not quite hit what we wanted the answer from.
Yeah. It's like, dude, that helmet looks like ass. So can we not do that again?
The portrait is great. No one's complaining about the fact that we got a helmetless head. It looks fantastic. No. What we're saying is, look, there's a simple way to make this like foolproof forever. Okay. If the character is bald, see, for example, Migs Mayfeld and Tatooine Boba and Morak Boba, right? You can have a removable helmet. It works. The helmet doesn't have to be oversized that way. But if the character has any hair whatsoever, just go with swappable heads because the removable helmets, they're just huge and oversized. It doesn't work. Like, can we just not do this anymore?
and there are a lot of people on IG who've done some great customs, using the Death Watch helmet, and it just looks fantastic.
Well, that's what's so frustrating about it is because that's the easiest custom. It's so easy.
That's what they had in
the
promo shots. I don't know what happened. I don't know.
And because even the other team members, Bo-Katan and Casca Reeves, have the swappable. Obviously, they have a lot more hair than he does, but they still have the swappable heads and helmets. And they cited the fact that, they're carrying the helmet. Axe is carrying the helmet. There's scenes where he takes it off and it's cool. But he's right there with the women in the team. And they had swappable. So I don't really understand the thought process here. But
strange.
Other than the helmet, the figure's cool.
I want to apologize to you guys and to the listeners in the community for not pressing them a little more to clarify that and ask it a little differently so that maybe to get a better answer out of Chris. But it's hard in the moment to want to get aggressive with those questions. So
we can only hope that they listen to this podcast. I don't know if they do. They've never mentioned it, but
they've never mentioned it. Yeah, cool. So moving on from Axe and his giant bucket, we got our first figures from Jedi Survivor, the game that comes out at some point in the next year. I don't know when. The continuing adventures of Cal Kestis, who we don't have in TVC at all yet, but we are getting his Jedi Survivor look hopefully soon so that these three neat little army builders can do something other than just stand there. I like my characters to have scene partners. That's a tough one for TVC collectors anymore, isn't it?
He's coming.
I'll be getting more into that when we discuss pipelines, but yes, continue.
Yeah. So, but they're nice. I like them. The Scout Trooper's not super exciting, but I like the Magna Guard. I'm really hoping we get that proposed 4-pack that you threw Emily's way at Celebration, John. That would be pretty neat. You said something about them being punched and unpunched.
Yeah, they're showing up both ways.
It's weird
because it's a 3-pack of individually carded figures within that box. And previous times, because the skiff guards were punched, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Let me glance back here at my Return of the Jedi section. Yes, and then the Bad Batch 4-pack that was like this were unpunched, and for whatever reason, these are arriving both ways, and I don't know if it's we haven't done the research of if it's a production date thing or if people from EE are getting them unpunched and people from Pulse are getting them punched, or whatever it is. Because Lewis, how did you get yours, and how did it arrive?
I knew he was going to ask me that. I opened them, so I'll be honest, I didn't even look. I've got the cards. I mean, I do keep the cards. I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you if they were punched or not. I've got another set on order, which are coming from. Oh, I can't think where they're coming from. It's coming from somewhere different from where I picked them up. So, because I think the set I actually got was imported anyway. So it'd be interesting to see the ones that come through the fan channels if they're any different. But yeah, no idea.
Very helpful. Thank you.
I'll have to look that up. Dig them out of the pile.
It's just interesting. It's obviously clearly it's not the most important thing in the world, but for carded collectors, I think generally unpunched looks nicer, but it's not consistent with all the other figures. But it's kind of the luck of the draw here, I guess.
The lack of consistency there is very strange. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's odd.
Yeah. Hopefully, by the time you're listening to this episode, folks, we will have done some kind of research to figure out why this might be.
It's still early days too, so
it's still early days
from many places.
Yeah, so
there you go. Oh, look, there you go. They were unpunched.
Oh my God! Look at that.
I opened it. Yeah. I opened it. So they were unpunched.
My skin is crawling.
You heretic!
How dare you open action figures?
But I do keep the cards. Yeah,
I mean, they're works of art. All right. Well, Lewis, here's something that we actually got that you didn't get yet. R2 SHW, Merrick's droid. Finally, the US is ahead of someone. Sorry, Lewis, but
that's cool.
Yeah. Mine were supposed to come in yesterday, but I think they come in Monday. So technically I can't brag yet. So if you get a surprise delivery of yours tomorrow, you will still technically beat me.
I believe mine is still marked as February and March, different orders, but yeah, it's still a long way off. I mean, do you know the worrying thing is when I look at my pre-order list, that is the next thing that I've got coming.
Oh, wow.
And it's saying February, March. So, okay, if they're showing up now, that's good for me. But otherwise, I've got nothing to look forward to.
Yeah, I was going to say that pre-order list is looking a little thin, but we'll jump to that in a sec.
Yeah.
There's just been so much stuff shipping lately. It's insane.
Yep, including the Phase 1 Clone Trooper Troop Builder Pack, which shipped from Pulse and Shop Disney around the same time.
Yeah.
John, you want to take bullet point number 2 here?
Yes. So when they went up on Hasbro Pulse a few months ago, the maximum order was 2 per person. And this was another thing we proposed to Emily at Celebration. Hashtag you're welcome. Just totally just kidding on that. But she did, we asked if they could bump up the maximum order of these troop builder packs. She said, well, we'll talk about it. We'll think about it. I think Shop Disney has a higher maximum order anyway. So regardless, I was able to get 12 of these sets, which is insane. But they're troop builder sets. You want to have a lot of clones. So, this is the way to do it.
Yeah, they got to attack somehow. So
yes. So they're no longer limited to 2. I don't always want this many of every set, but, such like an iconic shiny trooper. You got to have a bunch of those guys. Come on.
For sure.
Tyler, how many did you order? Out of interest.
I think just 2 to 4. I already have a bunch of them. The biggest attraction for me is the alternate angry head. And I won't say no to a couple more lieutenants too. I still will maintain that I wish they had packed in the captain and commander, but grumbling, whatever.
You kind of feel they're coming. But then are they saying that we're getting new sculpt, aren't we? So
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how much they keep using the sculpt once we get the new one, or if they'll have both in rotation for a little bit.
Hopefully, I would say just stop using this mold. But
yeah, did you guys order? I ordered mine from Hasbro Pulse, and that's where they're showing up from. Did anybody get them from Shop Disney?
I ordered them at both, but I don't think I've actually gotten them in hand yet.
Okay.
Shop
They are-
Disney
they are
over
in the
here
mail.
never, in the UK, they never put them on Shop Disney.
Interesting.
You're
Well, at
lucky
least
to get any figures. I've been seeing some of the droids lately, but yeah, never seen any of these
Yeah.
troop builder packs.
I will say though, I can't cry too many tears for you for Shop Disney over there, because you guys actually occasionally get the cool lightsaber sets on your Shop Disney that are easier to get. So they're a little bit of a nightmare to get over here, but that's something else. Speaking of Shop Disney, they had some new droids go up, things that were shown off, I believe, at Celebration earlier this year. R6 SN0, the snowman themed droid, and we got an advent calendar. John, you got a spoiler alert in the notes for these.
Yeah, so fast forward if you don't want to know what's in this set, but it has Christmas themed. So, well, it's droids. I think you could probably have figured that out on your own.
It's
Anyway,
an advent calendar, so
yes.
yeah.
But there's 5 buildable droids. There's an R4, an R5, an R6, a C1, and a BB unit, plus a fully built gonk droid that looks like a wrapped present, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So if
God,
you're
I
into
love
that sort
that
of
one.
thing, this is not quite doubling, but it's building up the Christmas droid ranks quite nicely in one little set right there.
Yep, that should be fun. I think that actually should be arriving tomorrow as well for me. So
I've got
Pretty
mine. I'm
excited.
kind of, I don't know if I'm going to wait and open the doors one each day in December or just pop it open. And,
Yeah, you've got to do it properly. Just wait for
Yeah,
them
yeah,
to do,
yeah.
It'd be a nice build up. You get a new figure
Yeah.
every few days. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Actually, we don't know how they come out, do we? You could get all the legs in the first 10 days or something.
Yeah, we
like
don't
that.
know.
yeah, you can't finish them until like the last few
Yeah,
days
until
of
the end.
the calendar. Oh man,
That'd be cruel.
No, it's a nice idea. Is this the first time that's ever been done?
the
Yeah.
advent calendar. Yeah,
Well, Hasbro
Yeah.
did like a Microforce advent calendar that I did actually buy and still have not opened. And Lego has been doing them.
Yeah, because that's
for the
what I
last
say.
couple of
Lego.
years.
I always used to look at the Lego ones and think, it'd be great if they were just figures, actual figures.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
It never really occurred the Builder Droid idea, but it's a great idea.
Yeah,
were you
and
able
that
to
nice
get these, Lewis?
sandcrawler
Are they
box.
available over there?
I've actually ordered one, but I've ordered one through a shop that tends to bring stuff over, like one of these Disney resellers, which they sell them at a reasonable price. So yeah, at the moment it hasn't shown up on Shop Disney. It may do, and I may end up finding I've paid slightly over the price, but I've got one coming.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right, gang. Well, that's the mail call segment of the show that went on for a nice 20-30 minutes.
I'm already tired. Yeah.
Anyway, that's a wrap. Just kidding. Did we miss anything? Is there anything else you guys got in the mail that is of note? Or
I don't think so.
cool. Let's move on from there. So there's a little bit of news for this week. Pulse is having their annual 1027 event coming up. That is 1027. Is that their address over in
Yeah.
Pawtucket?
Yeah.
That's why they do it. So October 27th. They did it last year. Steve Evans hosted that, right?
Yes.
And I believe he's doing it again this year. Yeah.
Okay. It was fun. It was a fun, harmless little event of them just kind of getting excited. Like, yeah, we love working at Hasbro. And we love making these toys. Yeah, cool. Fun. I appreciate that. For reference, though, last year there was 0 in terms of TVC reveals for that one. But there were 4 Black Series reveals, which were the Jedi Stormtrooper Patrol, Omega, Echo, and Bib Fortuna. So pretty nice little spread. 2 of those were pretty much all new, I think, right? So good for Black Series folks.
Listen to the Black Series podcast for that information. So.
Yeah, but do they even know that? So sorry, shots fired.
It was frustrating though, as a premium member, to sit there and watch that. And
Yeah.
we sort of went through singing Transformers and all sorts of weird things, didn't we? If I remember rightly, was that that event?
I think
that
so.
I can't remember
event?
because this was like right after last year's PulseCon, like within
So
the
perhaps
week.
that was the PulseCon. But I just remember it was frustrating to sit there and then the whole thing ended and it was just no mention of TVC at all. And you just kind of feel, well, come on, give us something, just anything.
Yeah, it was odd. It was an odd event. I'll say that. Maybe one that you don't need to spend $50 to attend. So, speaking of PulseCon, nice segue there, right? PulseCon happened. There were reveals. We went over them briefly in the rundown for our Q&A. But you know what? Let's just sit down and actually talk about these reveals a little bit more in depth, if that sounds good to you guys. So the brand panel was on October 1st. That was the second day of PulseCon, so Saturday, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it was slightly better than previous years. We got some Andor reveals, a whopping 2 of figures that we'd already seen, fully visible on a card back at Comic-Con. But you know what? I'm going to turn this over to you guys. What do you guys think of the Andor figures?
I think that they are Cassian Andor in his Ferrix outfit from the first arc, and Vel Sartha in her Aldani mission outfit from the
Is that
second
what you
arc.
think? That's what you think?
That's what I think. That's what I know. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so they look great, obviously, since one's from the first arc and one's from the second arc. They do not interact with each other at all.
Right.
Cassian can interact with the B2 EMO from the Disney Parks Droid Factory line. I'm hoping that Vel Sartha, I was looking, you're always looking for parts reuse here. Her arms and legs could probably be reused for Asinta Kaz, her partner in crime and partner in love and life, who also went on the mission with her.
Well, they share a blanket, they might as well share parts.
Yeah. They could share arms and legs too, why not? But yeah, so in and of themselves, the figures look great, of course. I'll say on the card back front, it was interesting seeing like an older Andor logo used on the card back. And then I'm trying to make Andor cards, but they were talking about how the logo is distressed in person on the panel, and the images they released, it was like totally clean logo. So you know what? Let's get those high res distressed images, please. For me, it might not make anybody else happy, but it'll make me happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you in advance. But
yeah. So I think the figures both look great. There's no question about that. They both look like a couple of really high quality figures. Again, my issue is that they don't go together. And so, you know, and of course I assume that over time they're going to continue to fill this out as a line like they did for the Mandalorian, you know, but I really wish that when Hasbro and Lucasfilm sit down together and determine which figures to make, there was a little bit more thought put into it about, okay, we're going to launch these two figures to be our first two figures, but they don't go in a scene together. Like, where's the logic in that? And this also goes back to, you know, when we look at the Rise of Skywalker, right? We got a handful of figures for the Rise of Skywalker. They put out,
and then they moved on forever.
Well, yes, but so they put out, you know, Zori Bliss and One Knight of Ren. They didn't put out Supreme Leader Kylo Ren. They didn't put out Palpatine. They didn't put out, you know, Poe in his appropriate outfit to be with Zori Bliss. They put out his pilot outfit.
They wave at each other at the end in those outfits, so technically they kind of go together.
Well, you don't have her Y-wing, so it doesn't count. But anyway,
and no Babu Frick.
Yeah.
So
hey,
great.
But
I'm sad now talking about this.
My point is, like, I really wish a little bit more thought would be put into, you know, releasing figures that kind of go together. Like I said, they're both great figures, no doubt about it. I'm happy to have both. But yeah, that just doesn't I don't understand the logic there. So anyway,
it kind of reminds me of when we got the first figures for the Mandalorian, which was Mandalorian from his episode 1 through, you know, beginning of 2 and 3 look, and Cara Dune, and of course a repainted distressed stormtrooper. But you know, really that Cara and that Mandalorian, they don't go together in that look for him either. It's very specific to the first couple episodes and the next couple episodes. So yeah, of course they've gone crazy with releasing Mandalorian figures. So we've got a lot more that do go together. So I'm like you said, I'm hopeful that they don't just kind of jump ship from Andor onto the next one. That's the downside of the truncated release schedule of all of this stuff. So
yeah, it's interesting though that they've actually, when they revealed Vel, she hadn't even been on the screen, had she, at that point? So I know we always say, oh, we want to see characters, you know, why not show us characters before we see them? Why not show them up front? And it is a character they have actually put out there before we knew who she was or what her involvement was or anything. But as Tyler said, you almost feel like Bix would have been a better option to just the first two, because they're in the first 3 episodes, they interact together. You can at least use them for displays or photo shoots or anything together. So it is strange that they've picked those two. And again, it makes you wonder how much info Lucasfilm are actually giving Hasbro in terms of, you know, this is from this episode, or these are from these, or they literally just given them screenshots or photos and saying, right, here's some characters, do what you want with them. And so from Hasbro's part, if they're getting a picture of Cassian Andor and a picture of Vel Sartha, they don't necessarily know that those two people don't go together.
Right. They don't have the context.
Yeah.
So that's on Lucasfilm. It's on
definitely
Lucasfilm,
definitely seems to be. Definitely seems to be. But yeah, in terms of the figures, they look great. I mean, I think it's a foregone conclusion now. Everything we get in TVC is going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Even with little missteps like the chest cut on like Obi-Wan and the Bespin guards, it's not enough for people like me to be like, oh, this is trash, it's ruined. It's like, no, this is still really great. That's an unfortunate design choice.
It's going to be top level articulation and
yeah, and if you pose it right, yeah, you're fine.
The other thing is if you look at these figures, speaking of actually I guess Vel does have it, but Andor does not. Cassian does not have the chest cut.
No.
So
what's everyone think about the coat? Because I quite like the fact that it's plastic. For me, I'm not a massive soft good person. I know people talk about this. I guess the Han Solo in trench coat is probably as close as we would have got if it would have been soft goods, but I like it. But
I think this one has so many different like color details and stuff and stitching patterns and whatnot on it that I'm glad they did it in plastic. Hopefully it's pliable as it needs to be to actually not hinder the articulation and stuff.
Yeah.
It looks like in the photos his legs are able, he's not like doing the splits or anything, but he's able to kind of have some running-ish action poses.
He doesn't look hindered by it
nice.
At all.
In the unlikely event that they make the speeder bike that he and Luthen ride at the end of episode 3, will he be able to ride it? I don't know.
Yeah, good point.
Doesn't exist, so
yeah. Luthen is another character I think that there should have been there should have been more figures for TVC for Andor in general, there should have been at least 3, and it's like I find it odd that B2 wasn't in there, but then again, Hasbro confirmed that they do coordinate or they do have talks with, the Disney parks when it comes to droids. Not saying that it's off the table, they could, Hasbro could still do a B2. But there should have been like Luthen or something. There was just one more, like you just needed one more thing to kind of, well, they gave him to Black Series. So
yes. So Black Series got, in addition to Cassian and the B2, they also got at PulseCon revealed Bix Kaleen and Luthen Rail, both from the Ferrix arc. And then Mon Mothma in her first white Coruscant outfit.
All new sculpts.
Yep. And in addition to 4 Kit Bash Troopers exclusive to Walmart and Target. Got balance the scales, Hasbro. Come on that front.
Mm-hmm. TVC has all the fun.
It's like we were talking about with the... Oh, sorry, yeah.
I was going to say, interestingly, a lot of their figures don't go together either, do they? Because if you think about what we've seen so far, they're all in different scenes, so even those don't gel very well in terms of building scenes. They haven't got any of the pre-mox kind of security guards or anything like that. So which if you were trying to do something from those early scenes with those figures they've got, you'd need those rather than the Imperials. So it's interesting that they've got more, but
I'm legitimately shocked that Cyril Karn wasn't coming to Black Series yet. Like not that was sitting there hoping for him to go to Black Series, but
no,
I was convinced that was a character that was gonna get a figure pretty in early days for Andor. So whoopsie doops.
Well, on the bright side on those Imperial troopers is that we have a lot of the parts for the Aldani guys because they're kind of wearing the Mud Trooper, Tank Trooper outfits. The shoulders are different than the Din and Mayfeld that we have, but overall it's at least the top half of the body is pretty close, and the lower. Like the legs are more Imperial officer-ish. They don't have the shin armor. At least the Cassian and his crew, when they were in disguise as these troopers, I think they just had regular boots. So I think it's a fairly short walk to get those figures. If they were able to do a 4-pack of Cassian, Skeen, Nimic, and Terriman, that would be amazing.
I would love that.
That'd be
great. Or just the generic guys that they fight against that wear similar armor. They have the Mud Trooper helmets. That would be such an easy, awesome army builder to get out for this arc.
Yeah,
it's made for it, wasn't it? It's 4 of them.
Yeah, and because Vel is wearing this outfit when she's working with the guys that are in the Imperial disguises. Cassian takes his off at some point, so I'm assuming we're never going to get regular plain shirt Cassian. We still need the regular plain shirt Cassian from Rogue One. He's got a lot of shirts, but so I'm not too optimistic about those. But I think the troopers are something that I think could come to the line fairly easily. I hope.
Yeah. But even these rebels have changed. They changed their outfits a lot, didn't they, over the sort of three episodes? Because they've got ponchos and hats, and no ponchos. And you have to wonder if we ever do get those, how they would deliver those. Whether they would try and
can we get
everything.
Accessory packs would be nice, like a box with just ponchos and guns and stuff.
Even Skeen's even shirtless at one point, so what do you do with that?
Well, the photo reel for those prison tattoos.
Yeah,
but that's why I do think I assume the Imperial looks are more likely because it is a uniform, even if Nimic's a little shorter than the other guys, but I don't think they're going to spend the tooling dollars to get all their slightly different rebel outfits. I don't know.
I don't think the legs don't look vastly different from what they've just reused on Figuring Dan. If we can all handle the pockets, if we can all live with pockets, I don't know if they've got pockets on the actual suits or not, but that sort of half thigh boot length, it seems to be what they've got. So you almost feel, I know we speak about it sometimes with Black Series have a bigger tooling library, but it feels like we're catching up with some of that now, because you can start to look at figures and say, do you know what, that could work, or that could work. And I don't know. I think we're halfway on some of those figures.
Yeah. Well, anything else you guys want to say about the Andor figures?
Hope there's a lot more coming.
Same. Yeah. Same. Well, on that note, or musical note, you mentioned Figuring Dan, Lewis.
Terrible.
With Balance, TVC finally is getting the full band of Figuring Dan and the Modal Nodes. Hasbro Pulse exclusive 7-pack?
Bizarre.
So, this was teased when they announced the single-carded Figuring Dan months and months ago. But
in the vaguest of terms.
We didn't know if it'd be a 4-pack that you had to buy 3 of the single-carded Figuring Dans. We had no idea how many single-carded Figuring Dans you needed if you wanted the full band. And it turns out none, because they're all coming in this pack. So, luckily, I was able to cancel my additional order. I have 1 carded. You don't really need any loose if you're going to get the full band. You can just buy the 7-pack and be figuring done. The whole thing.
So
I was so proud of myself when I wrote that one.
Now that we can get 7-packs, I would like to be able to buy 55-gallon drums of VC 231s. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, they've got the box now, haven't they? Yeah, why not? Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should sell them by the Camtono.
Yeah.
I'd be super stoked about that.
It's a weird thing, though, isn't it? Everyone, we all assumed, didn't we, it was going to be a 4-pack, because everything's been a 4-pack before. They released a figure that had 3 instruments, so it kind of makes sense. You go, okay, we'll buy 3 of those, 3 instruments, and then I'll pick up the 4-pack when it comes out. It's how logic dictated it. And for them to then throw out a 7-pack, and you can't even say, it's good for people who didn't pick him up before, because he's still there, he's still available. A lot of people still didn't have Figuring Dan. So
now people won't pick him up. So.
Well, that's the thing. So many people have cancelled those orders that you have to wonder how many of those are going to be, fan channels are going to be left sitting with a lot of those, I feel, because
I've got 5 that I need to either sell off or return. So
I got 4 and they were open. So I've opened all of mine anyway. So only 4, fortunately.
Maybe they can offer 107 packs that are just a really long, 2x4 looking.
Even like those big Toblerones you get when you go on holiday.
I want to be able to go to Home Depot and just pick up a very long case of stormtroopers. But anyway,
how many troopers are in a platoon?
Generally around 30.
Perfect. Then we should be getting 30 packs of troopers.
Yeah, I want to be able to order these by the platoon. So get going, Hasbro.
So,
man.
Back to the Modal Nodes, and not to always do the Marsha thing, but got to say that the Black Series got the single box release and the deluxe release announced on the same day. So they knew right away, they could do the math and figure out how many band members they needed to get to fill out the full band. They got all the instruments right in one go. We were kind of on the hook right as orders were starting to ship for these guys. So it's a little bit frustrating on that front, but it is nice to have the full band and get some of those instruments that they've never made before. Because previously they've only done 5 packs, or I'm pretty sure, 5 packs or individual Disney Parks releases or whatever. So there are 7 members of the band. There's another Bith sitting in another corner of the room that people just assume racistly that he's part of the band as well. He's not, so
he can't read music.
Yeah. But there are other, the band, or at least another band, shows up in Clone Wars, and shows up in the Phantom Menace, on the deleted scenes they play during the pod race. So if you have not that a lot of people are making pod race stand scenes, dioramas in their collections, but you can if you want to.
Because we got so much Phantom Menace stuff to celebrate the 20th of that movie.
Oh yeah.
Black Series did. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, yeah, as John said, Marsha. Yeah. But Black Series. Oh boy.
Like I said, we got one full band. That's one team completes. Another team that's just getting started.
The Bad Batch. We're getting them. Kinda. Slowly.
In one.
We're getting one.
So
you wanted more? No, we don't do that here.
Yeah, there was. So Hunter was revealed and shown, but not put up for pre-order. He was pipelined to Celebration earlier this year. On the card back front, the card back looks fully animated. Figure looks sort of animated, not 100% realistic. Sort of similar to the Black Series sculpt looks like. What are your thoughts on this figure in particular?
Oh boy, can I go?
Please.
All right, I'm gonna be a bit of a. I'm gonna piss some people off here.
Real quick, say something nice first. Soften the blow.
Okay, so let me start. Okay, so this is not my favorite show. All right, everybody knows that. But many people have asked for the Bad Batch for a very long time. And so for those people, I'm very happy for you that the Bad Batch is finally getting started. Very happy for you that, your dreams are coming true. So that's my happy thing. Congratulations. Now, as far as the execution goes, so I wonder if they're going with a more animated look here, because I have to wonder if they don't really have a realistic reference for what Hunter would look like. So they're like, I don't know how to make this in any other way than an animated way. And so they're like, put out an animated look. But
we know what Tamara Morrison looks like though, and he's only another version of him, isn't he?
He's just Tamara Morrison in Rambo cosplay.
No. Yeah. I'm not talking about the head sculpt. I'm not talking about the portrait. I'm talking about the actual armor and the figure itself.
For sure.
It's like very obviously got some animated. I don't think that animated figures belong in the vintage collection. I've seen lots of people. Look, there's a lot of people who love the Clone Wars animated line, and they've consistently called for them to bring that line back. I don't think it's going to happen. The Clone Wars season 7 came and went. Bad Batch came and went. Nothing like that happened. So I think at this point, you're beating a very, very dead horse asking for that. Dead and in the ground and buried. But anyway,
there's just no room for that kind of stuff anymore.
Well, I'm pretty sure
really
Chris Reeve answered a question that I think it was Star Action News or someone asked about animated, and he pretty much said it doesn't fit the world building, aspect of TVC. It just doesn't fit.
It doesn't. In my opinion, it's just frustrating. Like, why would I want an animated figure when I can't put that in with the entire rest of my, 20-year-old collection, 25-year-old? Like, why? Why would I want that? I don't know. There's some people out there who like that, but it ain't me. But anyway, I mean, the figure, if you're wanting an animated style Hunter that's straight out of the show, it looks good. The vintage collection has always been about realistic interpretations. When you look at Clone Wars Anakin and Clone Wars Obi-Wan and Clone Wars Ahsoka and Clone Wars Maul, I mean, maybe with Maul and Ahsoka, it's like ever so slightly animated in the portrait, but for the most part, they're all realistic. Yeah, they're all like realistic portraits and figures though. And then you go with Hunter and it's just, blatantly like animated style. And I'm like, cringe. Like,
I mean, it's not fully animated. He's bulkier on the figure than he is in the show, but it is he's a little angular more in places than he would be a totally realistic version. And who's making like the fully realistic ones? Hot Toys or Sideshow is making like a fully realistic Bad Batch. I think they just revealed Crosshair the other day.
Those were what I used when I made card back mock-ups of the Bad Batch, were those figures, since they were the realistic style. That's what puts me off the most, is the fully animated card back, which I understand when they do it for events like the Clone Wars micro series stuff and like droids. I get that. I don't get it for just regular mainline TVC.
We've talked before about this, but like Fives, the ARC Trooper, he has like a Tamura Morrison. It's artwork, but it's designed to look as if he was in the movie or whatever.
Style,
Right.
Yeah. So they have Hayden and Ewan on the Clone Wars cards for Anakin and Obi-Wan. And then over time, like Echo had the helmet on, but he's a little more animated. And now you get to Jesse, and he's a fully, just like a still from the show.
Yeah.
The new Mandalorians are from the show, but like they also kind of tried to make the one of the Mandalorians a little more realistic. It's kind of strange. But now we're getting reveals of fully animated card backs, which I'm not hugely into, but
so
it is what it is. I don't know.
Just for reference, when we look at our Instagram page, Hunter was a very, popular reveal. Racked up almost 2,000 likes, which is a lot for, our page. And but when you look at the comments section, we have this comment from my good buddy, AOS.customs, Adrian, who makes some really fantastic customs when he decides to make customs. But anyway, he said, and I quote, "Please, Hasbro, do not make any other clone commandos with this mold. Let this mold be just for Hunter and Crosshair if it works for him as well. But do not use it for other clone commandos like Delta Squad, Gregor, Omega Squad, Battlefront 2 skins, etc." And that comment got 100 likes. That's a lot. That's a lot of. I don't think any comment on anything we've posted ever has gotten that many likes. So I think the consensus is that people do not want this mold reused for Republic Commandos. So.
But the worry is that, I mean, again, in the recent Q&As, Chris did say that whenever they produce a figure, they are always looking down the line to see what more they can do with it. And you know that in the back of their minds, they must have those commandos. I'd be amazed if they're not thinking of that. Yeah. So I mean, let's hope they do a U-turn if that's the case.
Because that's exactly what they did for Black Series. They've done all 4 of the Republic Commando.
And they got heavily criticized for it because people don't like the way they look.
So I'm not a clone guy, but I don't. You know what? I'm just keep my mouth shut on this one because I'm going to have the wrong take on this. I do appreciate the sentiment of yes, don't reuse it though for the Republic Commandos, but for plebs like me, I don't think it would be the end of the world. But I absolutely think it's important for Hasbro to pay attention to what the fans, community, and collectors are asking for. And what's accurate.
Well, people like, Adrian, AOS.customs he's very attention to detail oriented. And so I trust his judgment in saying that this is not a good fit for Republic Commandos. It's not a one-to-one translation. So hopefully they don't. That's not to say that we don't want commandos. We absolutely do, but we want them to be realistic and the way
think this would be the only way we'd ever get those.
That's the problem.
That's quite honestly is. Do you want the Republic Commandos? If not, then yes, you'll never get them. Well, but if you do want them, they're gonna have to be on this probably.
And I was looking up because Republic Commandos do show up in the show, like Gregor shows up and Scorch shows up, and it looks like they basically use the same Hunter animation model from what I can tell, at least generally speaking, so I assume this is what's going to happen.
I don't know.
I'm not it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't look terrible to me.
I don't think it's that bad, but
it's a little bit pinched at the waist, and I think that's for me. One of the biggest criticisms of the Phase 1 clones is that people say it doesn't look like the armor would hold a person. And I think when you look at this Hunter, that's what my mind goes to. You kind of feel that the waist is so narrow. You think really that armor wouldn't hold a person. But that's probably my only criticism of it.
What do you guys think of the helmet? Is the helmet too big? Because again, you have the helmet over the hair.
Because Hunter has a lot of hair.
Right. Mm-hmm. Does the helmet look too big? Does it look oversized?
Look a bit big. Yeah.
It's a bit bobbleheady.
Yeah.
Again, generally, I'm really glad Hunter's coming. I wish he was.
I agree.
20% more realistic. I don't dislike the look of the figure. Some of the hair is a little too angular for me, but it's in that weird in-between zone of kind of animated, kind of realistic. I wish they just shifted it a little more realistic, but overall, he looks good to me, and I'm excited that he's coming.
Yeah. But he did do the best in March Madness, did he? Was he
did out of the team.
And it makes sense if they're going to do the team, hopefully the rest will follow, that he's the first one. So I guess, again, it shows Hasbro are kind of thinking along the same lines as the rest of us. So.
He was number 17 in the March Madness, and I have some notes on this.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's turn it over to John real quick. How and when we'll get the full team, maybe.
Yeah, and that was a question that Patrick asked when he did an interview with Bad Batch voice actors D. Bradley Baker and Michelle Ong, and asked them who should be made next. Michelle mentioned Crosshair, which was convenient because Crosshair was the second member to join in Black Series because they reused the arms and legs from Hunter. It's probably a good bet that if they bring Crosshair into TVC, they're going to do the same thing here. So they could just, it'd be a partially tooled figure. A lot of new tooling, still helmet, head, torso. But, as we said before, people don't want to wait a decade for these guys to join the line as we wait for so many crews to get completed. But they also don't want to take up an entire year's worth of new tooling budget just for the Bad Batch because there's so much more to get to. But I think looking at what the Black Series has done, Wrecker could take up a deluxe slot, which they seem to be getting some new figure tooling through the deluxe world building sets that way. It might be a little more expensive, but so be it. Tech would have to be an all new figure from the main line. Echo would be almost entirely new. He could reuse Hunter's feet and possibly legs. I think he has some different knees, so I don't know how they could work around that. Of course, Omega would have to be all new. Maybe she could share parts with a young Leia or something. We don't know. Or Boba.
Please.
And then, of course, we are only a few months from Season 2 coming out in January, in which they have all gone on their summer break and gotten their haircuts, gotten their Season 2 glow-ups. They repainted their armor. They've added scarves and whatnot.
Let me just say now, Hasbro, please, for the love of God, do not mix and match figures from Seasons 1 and 2. Just give us Season 1, all of them. Like, I don't want to see Season 1 Hunter and then, Season 2 Omega. Like, that's going to drive
this piecemeal approach.
Like a certain Grief Karga.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to get Grief Karga again. Okay.
Yeah.
Or getting a Cal from the second game with all his enemies from the first game and stuff. But
wouldn't it just be the worst if they put out, the second sister and just never put out, it's very, I mean, Carla would be very happy, but also frustrated.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think I haven't compared their Season 2 armor too much, but I think it is generally small updates, paint updates, a few new tooling or animation model upgrades here and there. So I think it wouldn't be too hard to, once you get the Season 1 looks in the line over the next year or two or whatever, then you can go back and repaint them as a set for Amazon or whatever.
Exactly.
Whoever will take them. I think that would be not too difficult. So, but back to the tooling, I think it would be, 2 or 3 all new figures in the main line, 1 new deluxe figure, some with heavy new tooling. But I think it is possible to not use the entire year's budget on these guys. So
there's a simple fix.
That's my hope.
It's Hasbro.
Increase the budget.
Increase the budget. More new tooling slots, please. Good God. But
yes,
whatever. That's apparently out of the question. So
that's the dream. So working with the reality we've got, much like the Bad Batch, it's not the reality they want, but it's the reality they got, and they're making it work.
Yep.
Just 5 dads and their daughter who's also older than them, and there's just, I don't know how it works, but whatever.
Well, speaking of reality being dog shit, there was a bunch of pipeline reveals.
Jeez.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Do that again.
Well, moving on from the Bad Batch, we did get our pipeline refreshed, and there was some stuff from the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary. John, what you got here?
Well, I'll say we already know in the pipeline we've got, for the Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary, a newly tooled Admiral Piet, a partially newly tooled Andor Han Solo, a newly tooled speeder bike with a somewhat upgraded biker scout, but that is not all. They announced a Darth Vader figure. I forget the exact terminology they used here, but they used an image of Anakin as he's on his death ramp, I guess you'd call
Death
it.
ramp.
And they confirmed later in the Q&A that it will have a removable helmet to show Anakin's face. They didn't say, but I think we all assume it's going to be based on the amazing VC-241 Dark Times Darth Vader from the Obi-Wan series. I think to make it a Return of the Jedi version, they would need to update at least the lower arms. His gloves are different. These are his A New Hope, Rogue One, Obi-Wan gloves. He has different gloves
buttons on the chest too,
5
right?
and 6.
100%.
Yeah, I think some of that, I think they can get away with paint on the chest buttons, right?
Yeah.
So may not be 100% accurate, but it's very close. And I think the figure's so good that
that figure is so good.
I'm really hoping that what was it? Is it VC08? What was the early on Darth Vader that has the removal? Is it VC08? Man, I'm good. Got it. But anyway, I'm really
hoping on the shelf. Look,
I'm really hoping that they don't like plop that onto the Dark Times body, because that's going to be really disappointing. Like, oh God, please don't do that. I'm hoping for an all new tooled head, all new helmet. Like, it's totally fine to use the vast majority of the VC-241, Darth Vader body, obviously. If I could change one thing on that body, aside from obviously the gloves, which are wrong, I wish that they would get back to making the entire inner tunic soft goods. They used to do that. As a matter of fact, when you look at VC08, that's the way he is. His whole inner tunic is soft goods, and it goes under the belt. With VC-241, Dark Times Vader, they made the upper, tunic on his torso plastic. And I've never liked the plastic and soft goods combo. I hate that for, the Phantom Menace Darth Maul and Darth Sidious as well, like with the plastic hoods. I don't like the combos, stick to one or the other. So one thing I would like to see moving forward is uniform consistency through the whole figure. I'd like them to retool that to ditch the, pleated look, the plastic pleated look on the tunic, and switch it out to soft goods. They probably won't do that, but one can dream.
I will disagree with your dream. I don't want them to waste the tooling dollars on it. I think it's just fine.
That sounds like a job for the beautiful customizers in the community. But...
Oh, thank you for calling me beautiful, though.
It's going to be nicely ironed and everything.
Yes, immaculate.
Yeah, I'll make the pleats myself with an iron. Thank you very much. No, I'm just
One thing I do want that this figure has, and they have not really gotten right on a lot of the removable helmet Darth Vader's, he should have his hand cut off right at the wrist.
Yes.
They did this right in the 98 version, and now you can take off his hands to swap them out, of course. But every time they've done that VC-08, which is based on the Evolutions Vader from 2005, the articulation on the hand rotates at the glove. So if you remove that, it's not really accurate to how he is, because he gets his hand, Luke chops his hand off, and then he takes the helmet off a few minutes later. The big final scene for Anakin Vader. That's just a small detail, but it's something that I would really like for them to do. They do it right on the Emperor's Wrath version. They've never combined the Emperor's Wrath arm, hand, and body with the removable helmet head.
I'd love if they made a little plug to go into the hole on the wrist on that Vader. It's just like a little plug with wires that you can just put in. It's a little piece, but it'd be a little.
They did that.
We had that,
yeah. On the Emperor's Wrath version, has that, and some other versions have that. But please, most of the glove, just get rid of the hand and add those wires if you can. But
basically just look at our symbol, and that's how to do it.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Last note on Vader for me is that I really love them to, get some more mileage out of this Vader, the VC-241, which again, we're presuming is what they're going to use for Return of the Jedi. I would really like them to capitalize on this kind of stuff. And, I wouldn't mind an Obi-Wan Kenobi version where he's got the battle damage and the helmet with the split down and you see.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
100%.
I think that figure would sell gangbusters.
Yeah.
I think it would be exciting to see. Especially with how good Hasbro sculpting and deco can be.
Yep.
Like that would be incredible. I would.
That's
love
like
to see
the
that.
easiest, best-selling retool like of all time. Like just
that
do
and
it,
pre-Vizsla.
Yeah.
Well, whenever you see a ton of customizers on IG making these things, you know that they're going to be popular. And you know, other than pre-Vizsla, we've seen a lot of those Raiders as well, haven't we? Like people are knocking out photos of left, right, and center with that melting helmets. However they do them, I don't know how they're making them, but come on, Hasbro.
Be rad.
Yep.
I do want to mention on Vader real quick. As far as the card back, we've gotten both Kinner Return of the Jedi card backs, both the A New Hope one that they recycled and the Return of the Jedi one where he's pointing the sort of Uncle Sam, I want you look. So I don't know. That's the one they used for the Emperor's Wrath version in 2012. I don't know what they're going to do for this one. I don't know if they're going to use an image of him with the helmet off. It's not very toyetic, but it would be cool from a collection standpoint.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they use the image that they used for the pipeline. Honestly, that would be perfect on a card for me.
I think it'd be rad. So you know how they did what is it, VC, was it VC-13 Revenge of the Sith Anakin? Yeah. Where he was Anakin Skywalker and then they changed the name pill to say Darth Vader, even though it's like, you know, Hayden. I would love if they had with this one where there's a Darth Vader and then there's a variant that says Anakin Skywalker.
That'd be awesome.
That would be super cool. That would be very
I would love that. So Hasbro, if you're listening, jot that down.
Running change, Hasbro.
If you can change Hauser, you can change Darth Vader.
Oh,
God, we're gonna get into that.
Don't remind me. You know what? Let's move on to the Andor bunker playset and get that out of our mouths, Lewis. You heathen. Thank God for the beeps this episode. Andor bunker playset, John.
Yes, so this was previously made in the Power of the Force 2 line, a small little playset situation. But much like all the other current Hasbro playsets, this is one that will probably have very little paint. The bunker in the movie is almost entirely gray with some details here and there. Of course, it needs the double doors. I think, what features do you guys want us included? The double doors were on the Power of the Force.
They were on the other one, yeah. I think for me, it needs to be a bit bigger.
Yeah.
That one was a bit small, wasn't it?
It was small, yeah.
I have that one on my shelf, and it is a little small, but for the most part, and I don't usually say this about things from the 90s, but it serves its purpose pretty well. Yeah. So, I'm not saying it's something that I didn't want, but at the same time, I'm like, what can this really offer me that I didn't already have? I don't know. Maybe they're going to blow my mind and it's going to look really cool. And maybe on the flip side of it is going to be like the interior of the bunker so that you have like a double-sided thing. I don't know. I have no idea.
We didn't get that with Navarro Bar, did we?
No.
So,
no.
I wouldn't expect it to be.
It would be awesome.
Right. That's what I would want them to do is even offer one piece and both sides have stuff on them and have it modular like the Tantive V4 Tantive V4 thing where you can build them in whatever configuration you want.
Yeah, the Tantive,
I would really like that. Yeah. Well, I was just trying to please the gods.
Thank you. Yes, you did it right.
You never know. They might put the little bit inside where you've got the barrier where the guy, you rebel scum, kind of where he's standing, that little gantry, I don't know what you describe it as. They could put a little bit more inside it to give us something, like they did with the bar on the Navarro set.
A little walk.
But I can't see it having a huge amount more than the Power of the Force one, but we could all be wrong.
I have to be honest here. As I understand it, it's going to be at about the approximately $50 price point. Sounds to me like that means it's going to be pretty bare bones, and so I'm going to say this is just my opinion. But again, I've always said I'm willing to pay more to get more. I wish that it was more of like a situation like Jabba's throne room, where they have an entire room and you could get the bunker. Right. But you could take the roof off or something. And then inside you get the whole area with like the consoles and, the whole room, basically. That would be my dream, Andor bunker. But
not with this price point, is it?
No way.
I was thinking the Power of the Force one came with a little tree and a boulder, didn't it? Because it had the little action
catapult
kind of
thing.
Yeah.
Which I guess was reused from the Robin Hood line. They would always go back and forth on that.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting any trees with this, but you have to feel that it should be a bit more than just a set of doors. I don't know.
Maybe the box will be a cardboard backdrop that you can use.
If there's cardboard in it, I think people are going to go mad. That's the other thing. I mean, there's no way they can put cardboard doors on this.
It's game board.
Listen, it's really high quality cardboard. Okay, it's like
it's almost like game board. Calling it cardboard is insulting.
Yeah.
It's a disservice.
But bearing in mind, we've got a Power of the Force 2 one that's all plastic. There's no way they can put cardboard in it, surely.
Well, you'd think.
You'd think.
Yeah.
The doors will be cardboard.
I'm just here begging for little panels that Han can open to try to hotwire the thing. You know, that's all I'm really wanting.
Wait a minute. This is from the same John Lindquist that says, we don't need tanks with removable panels. Is this even the same person? Somebody get me the real John.
Well. I always say I want them to be able to do the things they do in the movie. You know, I don't see people picking parts off of the tank and looking in there and putting a coffee cup in there. As fun as that is, if I can spend not $80 to get everything that it does in the movie, I will do that.
Did you miss that bit in Rogue One where he had a little sip of his coffee just before he blew him up?
I must be in the Blu-ray deleted scenes, but. So the question that some people have when they showed the pipeline image, it was like an incorrect image that was from like a behind the scenes thing when they were building the bunker. So the image that they used had a door on the front and the sides, which is not correct. In the movie, the side just kind of has those slatted paneling or whatever, kind of top to bottom.
Well, we only see that side very briefly when the scout turns around the corner and gets ambushed by all the rebels. So maybe there's a door over there. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we don't know. But they had another team trying to open that door on the other side. That's why.
They could put just make a little extra plastic cover that just goes over the door section. So if you had two of them.
If they make extra asking
sure.
Hasbro to make extra plastic feels like
I know.
hard
We're asking a toy
sometimes.
company to actually make toys, and that sucks. But
I mean, it is what it is. I assume they're going to do a thing where they want you to buy two to build it out. You don't have to, but you know. Yeah. So as far as the figure, what figure do you guys want to see?
That's what I was just about to ask. But yeah,
yes,
Rebels. It's got to be a Rebel.
Well, I know a lot of people have called for the Rebel Commando, the Andor Commando to come back. That could be definitely an option to make people buy more of these. I was thinking of, maybe a black Imperial officer, like black tunic. You pack in like Lieutenant Ren's, the rebel scum officer, right?
Yep.
That could be cool.
There's also Colonel Dyer, Freeze, the guy who's played by Ben Burt, and then he does the the fake Wilhelm scream.
Well, he had a backpack thrown at his face and fell over the edge.
But, so I would love to see that Rebel Commando VC-26 back. They had a white and a black version. That he has not been repacked in 2.0 with photoreal in either version. So I'd love to see that. I would like to get more of those. That could be
I'd rather see that in a trooper pack.
I have to agree, and that's why I think that the black tunic Imperial officer could be a better choice. But
it's probably just going to be a stormtrooper.
Look at the Tantive though set. We got the Rebel Trooper, and then we got the 4-pack as well. So
true.
Yep.
There's a good chance you could get both.
They've also got a lot of the old crappy Andor Han left over that they could probably throw some in there. So
get out.
Yep.
You're fired.
On my way.
Let me just run down this list real quick. We don't need to dwell too much, but other options include a Captain Rex Commando, formerly known as Nick Sant. They could do R2-D2 with the appropriate finish in the 96 indoor bunker image that was used on the pop-up lightsaber figure. An upgraded indoor Leia. I know that would make Tyler happy. I don't need her. The last one's fine, but we talked about that before. A Stormtrooper, they could do that. That's probably what's going to happen. The Return of the Jedi helmet is a little bit different than the other ones. They could do Han in his AT-ST pilot gear, which he doesn't really fully wear in the movie. Or they can do a new Ewok. We still need Chief Trooper, Ramba, and Warrock to finish the 96. I would take a new one as well. They got a lot of options for this.
They could just repack the Biker Scout again.
They could.
Couldn't it? Could.
Either as a pack-in or as other figures to build out the line. We know the speeder bike's coming with this. We know there's rumors of other things that might go with this. So I think there's a lot of focus on the indoor bunker scene. Along with another scene.
Yeah, speaking of repacks, Jabba's Palace is getting repacked out with more figures, and sorry, it's hard for me to get excited about it. Love Return of the Jedi. I love Jabba's Palace. I'm lukewarm on this. Someone else take this over because I'm not the one to be excited about these.
Nor am I. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't think any of us are that thrilled about them. They're all nice figures.
I'm glad to have an opportunity for these, but
I don't have them carded, so I'm happy to have that. And it's nice to have figures that will go to the throne room, even if it's not from Book of Boba Fett. And it's backfilling the skiff and the subbarge from a couple years ago. That's a lot of prelude to say. They're repacking VC-24 Woof, VC-56 Kithaba skiff guard, VC-99 Nikto skiff guard, VC-107 Weequay, who was also in the vote from the vault, and VC-132 Salt Mariah, the only TVC 2.0 figure here. Yeah. Again, not thrilling. I want the red band Kithaba. Lewis, you were talking about your recent experience with that Kithaba, because there were two versions in 1.0, a brown bandana and a more accurate red bandana version.
So I've had the brown one for years and years since we got it, but I never did pick up a red one. And I think I saw them at times and just thought, it's a bit expensive, I'm not going to pick it up. And then about a month ago, I decided, do you know what, I'm going to get that for my collection when I was putting them all on the shelf. So I actually picked up a red headband. Well, now I'm kicking myself, but I did only pay 40 quid for it. So fortunately, not too bad.
Better you than me this time. So
yeah, it's not Evan.
It's going to be really interesting to see these with photoreal too. But
yeah, they're interesting.
Is that really a thing?
If they do that with aliens, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I mean, like
could.
you guys said, they're nice figures. Jabba's Palace, great. I know that's a huge touchstone of what older collectors usually are looking for when it comes to the vintage collection, and that's awesome. We should be covering all of this stuff. It'd be great if, to celebrate the Return of the Jedi 40th, it'd be more than just, hey, remember this stuff that you bought 10 years ago? You can buy it again. Like,
I hope there's more. Obviously, we always hope there's more newness coming. I hope this was just kind of to get it out of the way. Here's a bunch of repacks, and next time there'll be new stuff. Yeah. I'm always hoping about next time, so I don't know.
What I don't get, though, what I really don't understand, I mean, pipeline, right? The whole word pipeline is all about what we've got coming down the line. So
repacks
it should be about, this is what we're making. We can't show you it right now because we're still making it, we're still designing it, we're still developing it, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But these things, they're showing photographs of like, here's a still of this alien from the film. And then it's like, well, hold on, why don't you show us a card? We know what it looks like. We know what the figure looks like. Just show us the figure. They could actually sat around that table and held up all of those figures on cards because we've got them.
They could have just been like, hey guys, look behind you. You got them already.
Yeah. And that's what to me, it's just, it's kind of nonsensical to go, right, this is, we're going to pipeline a whole load of stuff you've already had. It just seems to not make sense. And I think for people like me and you guys, people who've got all these figures already, who don't need them again, we just kind of go, okay, that's fine. So now we're going to wait even longer for the actual new stuff, because if we're waiting all this time for the stuff that we've already got, then how long are we going to wait for new stuff? And that's where it comes frustrating, really.
It seems like a delay tactic.
And I feel like these figures in particular, they appeal to the hardcore fan. They know we want background characters from all across the saga. But I feel like the people that are really interested in that stuff and collect TVC probably already have these figures
multiple times over.
And it's good for new collectors. It's good for people that didn't get them last time around. It's good for customizers. I'm down for all of that. If these people want those, then that's fine. But I mean, Yak Face is a really weird decision. I mean, you can literally get him now. I mean, there's plenty of fan channels in the UK. You can buy him now in fact, some of them were discounting them heavily. And in fact, they put the prices up again recently. Obviously, they're not going to start selling them cheap when there's one coming out. But it's a really weird decision when that one's still so readily available.
They should have swapped out Yak Face with Hut Slayer Leia. I'm just saying.
Well, that's
I don't think we'll ever see it. But,
well, what other?
I'm sorry, just really quick interrupt. I just want to go back to your point, Lewis, about pipelining old stuff, because then it also makes needless confusion. Like, we're still answering today the question about Starkiller, which they pipelined. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to pipeline Starkiller. So people are still confused. Like, oh, is it new? It's like, no, they have straight up confirmed it is just a reissue with photoreal of the one that exists. It's the one that exists. It's a reissue. It's a repack. It's not new. Don't get excited. And then people get excited when they see the pipelines again, or if they don't have that information, like, oh, we're getting Starkiller. Everything's great. TVC has fun. No,
but what confuses though is they show a different picture. That's
the problem.
But why not just show the picture of the figure on the card? We've already got it.
Yeah.
It's already there.
It's not a mystery.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old figure's not a mystery.
That's the big
There's nothing
problem,
exciting there. Whatever.
They go on Google and they pick out a random picture of Starkiller.
The first picture.
Yeah.
It's almost always the first picture that they find.
Starkiller's got like 18 different appearances in his 2 different games. I don't even know how many different appearances. They're just like, oh yeah, here's a picture of Starkiller. Is it in the same costume? No, but it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter. Like, people are very detail oriented in this hobby. So if you show a picture of Starkiller in a different outfit, they're going to assume that's the figure that they're getting. So stop doing that. It's the same thing that we talked about with the Raider, the ATST Raider dude. You know, they showed the captain or the leader or whatever. And people are like, oh my God, we're going to get a new figure. No, you're not.
If you think you're going to get a new figure, oh boy, have I got news for you.
We'll be buying that Weequay body quite a bit next year. So
yeah. Well, hey, since I'm making myself mad and I don't want to anymore, you know, what are some other Return of the Jedi figures that you guys would like to see repacked? Like, you know, repacks aren't bad. That's not what we're saying. That's not what I'm saying here. Repacks aren't a bad thing. And just, you know, too many of them is. But
well, Legacy's got some great ones.
Yeah.
So, you know, they could start there, couldn't they?
Yeah. Malakili, for example.
Yep, finish the 96, please.
Kieran? Yeah, I never know if I'm pronouncing his name right.
I think
Kieran?
everyone's in agreement that Jabba needs to come back out again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They could do a better job on the photo reel. I still want a better version of his eyes. They always look, like I said before, they always look like they're drawn on with a Sharpie or something.
I really like the one that
sculpt
came
is
with
there.
With the barge.
The sculpt is there, but the eyes need better paint, in my opinion.
Yeah. Put him in a little beast box so that he has his own.
Definitely
box.
want Chewbacca on the alternate Andor card. I don't think they even need a new version of that, even though it's the VOTC figure from 80,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't mind another crack at the Gamorrean guard. I obviously want a new Boba's Gamorrean guard, but I'd buy more of the other one.
Yeah. I think
interestingly, someone on IG, and I don't know who it was, I can't remember, it may have been Brute Slaughter, showed or suggested that with the fat bib that's coming, could there possibly be a way of using that for the new or the slimmer Gamorrean guards? But you have to wonder, is there a Malakili in there somewhere as well? Because
we don't know what's under those robes, I guess. Maybe they
No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think I dropped on the list of things I'd like to see. You know, repacked. I guess I wouldn't mind the Force Ghost Anakin from the 30th anniversary collection. I know it's old and whatever, but he doesn't need to do much. And I'd like to see them, you know, maybe, you know, update the soft goods and the head. I'd like to see Force Ghost Anakin. Of course, I'd prefer an all new Jedi body for them to work off of for Anakin, Obi-Wan, you know, prequel Jedi, all that stuff. But I guess we stray further and further away from that glimmer of hope with each day.
If we ever get, everyone's, you know, talking about the A New Hope 4 right now. Once we get Obi-Wan, then they can repaint him as unpaint him as a spirit version.
Yeah. So I'd like Spirit Obi-Wan as Spirit Anakin. I'd like Anakin with the swappable heads, so you could have, or if not swappable heads, you know, 2 different versions that you can get. One with the Sebastian Shaw head, one with the Hayden head, for depending on what your tastes are, or if you're insane like me, really appreciate and love both of them and want them both in my collection. So I don't know. Skiff guards. They do bring us ever closer to completing the skiff. John, run through the list.
Let me just rant through this real quick because we're getting a lot of skiff cards. We are very close to finishing off the skiffs and the sail barge combatants. We need Velkin Tazeri to finish off the prisoner skiff. #vote for Velkin. He ranked number 16 going into March Madness this year. The last figure we need for that first skiff. On the second skiff, we need Barada. The Blue Milk book stated that Kithaba was designed to be recycled into Barada. Finished the 96. He seems to need a new shirt and maybe new sleeves. Everything else, I think they can kind of move around, repaint, get a Barada out there. Yachts Orin, a green Nikto on the second skiff, was number 76 going into March Madness 2022. And then there's 3 humans from the second skiff, Galid, and 2 of everyone's favorite characters, unidentified mercenary pilot and unidentified shirtless male. They are not important enough to get names. Are they important enough to get action figures? The last 40 years say, no, not really. There's also more humans from the sail barge, not the most exciting, but Tameddrin Garen, the guy who shoots Luke, was number 49 going into March Madness. He lost to Velkin. There's a few other guys with varying hats and puffy shirts. So will we see them next year? We do not know, but there's a skiff guard refocus, so it'd be nice to just kind of close the chapter on those figures.
well, closing the chapter of this episode on Return of the Jedi and moving on to the next one, still with the Tatooine focus, we got pipeline reveals for the Book of Boba Fett, which is faring quite poorly in both scales, one more than other now. But yeah, we got the Tusken Warrior. She was number 79 going into March Madness, so it is nice to see more from this show. Granted, one figure is what we consider more. Black Series got 3 pipelined to our 1, which included the March Madness winner, Chrysanthemum. Ouch. So, yeah. The less said about that, the better. Let's move on the pipeline. Clone Wars.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
One figure though, but
Woohoo, with no scene partners. Anyway. Oh wait, no, we're getting that $200 Boba Fett. Yeah. All right. So, continuing with the pipeline reveals, the Clone Wars 20th anniversary.
Wait a minute.
This one has me
Hold on.
Scratching my head.
Let's back up to the Tusken Warrior real quick.
Why?
Because this goes back to what we were talking about earlier with figures that go together. I know there's a lot of people who are interested for this figure. I gotta be honest with you. For me, it doesn't really do anything. I mean, they put out the Chieftain in the Black Series, and they give us the Warrioress so that both scales can be equally frustrated. And it's like
it's the Knights of Ren all over again.
Yeah, it's like,
but again, we get that $200 boba, so we're having all the fun.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yes, I forgot that's included with the Slave One that I'm absolutely not buying at full price. But anyway, I just
happy beeps, everybody.
I don't know.
Happy beeps.
I'm sure
having all the fun.
All the fun. So much fun.
You will like this figure.
I'm having so much fun. My teeth are paste.
I'm sure it's going to be a phenomenal figure with some nice soft goods and all that, but it's hard for me to get excited about this figure when the prospects of getting a sort of standard grunt black tunicked Tusken Raider or even the Chieftain is like near zero. So I'm like, why though?
Well, 4-pack.
What I mean?
Could get 4-pack.
Yeah. I get it. It is hard to get excited when things are so scarce and new stuff is so slim that it's 9 times out of 10 you're not going to get anything anymore that goes with the one figure they decide to offer you as a pittance.
If I was gonna hope for a figure from the Book of Boba Fett, I would have hoped for Cad Bane. Yeah, literally the Black Series has 3 now. Cad Banes, 3.
We have 0.
We have 0. So like,
it's a lot of fun.
Where we're having so much fun. Where is the Cad Bane? Like, God, man. Maybe they could have put out a Pike, soldier, so that you can reenact.
They're doing that for Black Series.
I literally, I can't even. I can't. I'm
done. So anyway,
done.
let's move on because this sucks. Pipeline reveals. So the Clone Wars the Attack of the Clones anniversary, 20-year anniversary was this year, 2022. John and I did a 2-hour episode talking about Attack of the Clones, and that means we put more effort into thinking about Attack of the Clones anniversary than Hasbro did this year. However, we're getting a Clone Wars 20th anniversary next year, which, I mean, hooray, yay, but I don't get this. Like, I get it, but I don't get this. I'm happy for it, but I don't get this.
So I just want to say that, we've criticized them for the past few years for not acknowledging and not celebrating anniversaries in the vintage collection. And now they're coming out and saying, we're going to have a huge celebration for, Return of the Jedi. We're going to celebrate, the 20th anniversary of the Clone Wars. Hey, that's great. I'm glad that they're finally getting the message on that. But it's like, where was the celebration for Attack of the Clones? Like, you know what I mean?
I think, as much as we love or tolerate the prequels, depending on whoever you are, but I think Clone Wars in general has a little more modern, current love around it still.
And it's a good catch-all for all the prequel, really. All the prequel era stuff. So.
We better get
a really wide range, isn't it? Because it's going to cover the Gendy stuff. It's going to go right through to the animated stuff as well. So, it's...
The first thing they launched for it is from the 2008 Clone Wars.
Yeah, so
we better
let
get
me
a
run down this real
celebration
quick.
for Revenge of the Sith. That's all I'm saying. That's a movie worth celebrating.
We won't, but yeah.
Anyway.
Well, so
Black Series probably will. We won't.
It's the 20th anniversary of the Clone Wars in general, I guess. In 2003, Lucasfilm had the Clone Wars multimedia project, which Evan and I talked about on the Publishing Greats episode a little bit.
Love that line, by the way. Like, makes me happy even thinking about that line. So sorry for being so grumpy. I genuinely love the Clone Wars stuff. I love it. Sorry, continue.
The multimedia project back then encompassed the Cartoon Network microseries from Genndy Tartakovsky, Republic comics from Dark Horse, novels from Del Rey, along with, of course, action figures and vehicles from Hasbro. This celebration, as strange as it might appear on the surface, will encompass all things Clone Wars, including the 2008 series from George Lucas and Dave Filoni. And at PulseCon, Hasbro revealed a Phase 2 Clone Trooper roleplay helmet from Revenge of the Sith. So my hope for this, we'll get into our hopes in a minute, is that it will encompass Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, micro-series, CGI series, everything Clone Wars adjacent, as they say. We'll see what they do. I'm guessing a lot of clone repaints. Which I
would bet money on at least a baker's dozen of ARC Trooper repaints.
We've already seen Havoc, right? I know I'm
there was
where John's going. Yeah.
Nothing at PulseCon under the Clone Wars 20th banner, but within a week we saw ARC Commander Havoc, Walmart exclusive. Yeah.
Womp womp.
So I just want to say
for you a womp womp. Eat your breakfast
for
next
Walmart,
time before
for
we
Walmart
record.
exclusive.
Okay.
The womp womp. Havoc,
sure.
neat. But the womp womp was for Walmart exclusive because
all right.
It's still not my favorite thing to hear.
I have 18 paragraphs on ARC Commander Havoc, so you're going to hear them all now. You can delete them all
John,
later.
Who is ARC Commander Havoc?
I'm glad you asked. He is one of 4 ARC Troopers in Rancor Battalion, which appeared in the first 2 episodes of the Clone Wars Season 3, training clone cadets and then defending Kamino from the Separatist attack. The others in his group are Blitz in yellow armor and Colt and Hammer in maroon armor. Colt has the skull markings on his helmet.
Yeah.
All 4 of these ARC Troopers were released in the animated Clone Wars line and are now rare and expensive, some of them in battle packs. Colt was single-carded. Back to TVC, this is the 7th ARC Trooper repaint in TVC. The 3 501st from the 3-pack that have all been repacked on single cards. 3 from Battlefront 2 and now Havoc, presumably far from the last. So I'm going to guess that Colt and Blitz are probably also likely. I don't know about Hammer. He's kind of the forgotten one. I know Evan was not thrilled to pay $16.99 for the 7th version of this figure over the last 2 years, I guess.
Yeah, like they're cool. Don't get me wrong. ARC Troopers are rad. They're awesome. And I love this figure. Like I love the base figure that they're using for these. But when that's like the only thing they can parade out is infantries of ARC Trooper repaints, the novelty's worn off for me every time they announce it. I'm like, oh, that's neat. As opposed to just being like, yeah, it's like, oh, okay, cool. Another one of those. All right. Makes sense.
I think my biggest issue is that, they're not fixing the whole plastic comma thing, and the plastic commas really restrict the mobility of the legs. So, we're on the 7th iteration now. I really wish that they would retool that to have, soft good commas, but they won't. So whatever. But
anyway. I guess when it's an exclusive as well, they're not going to throw that money at it, are they? But perhaps if they do bring, are we going to see another one on the mainline card? Probably not.
But if they fix the soft goods comma now, that's 7.
Yeah.
That will then no longer fit in, and that they'll have to do again.
It's like the phase 1 clone troop all over again, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Maybe this is why I just am burned out on clones.
Well, I really like them. I really like these guys, and I'm quite happy to have more in any paint, any color they want to throw at me. I'll take them.
I like them. I like them. Don't get me wrong, guys. I'm sorry for being so about it. Like I don't hate them.
Well, and I guess I bring up the other ones. There's not that many in the Clone Wars animated series. There's those 4, and then you get Fives and Echo later, and then Jesse eventually. I think those are the only ones in the actual series. So, if they decide to do all 4 from this arc, that would be neat.
Yeah.
Spread them out a little bit. But, of course, with all these repaints, I don't mind the repaints. I like repaints especially. Lucasfilm was, smart enough to reuse animation assets by making a Clone Wars series and just having the same character a million times over. And Hasbro knows what they know what they're doing with this kind of stuff. We bought them as animated figures. We'll buy them as, low articulated figures. We'll buy them again as super articulated vintage figures. But of course, with all this stuff, it's always nicer to have new figures as well. I don't want the Clone Wars 20th just to be repaints and repacks, obviously. Or clones only. There's plenty of characters we need.
I was going to say, it'd be nice to get something other than clones as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So we didn't get Count Dooku for the Attack of the Clones 20th. He was the number one most wanted figure going into March Madness. Asajj Ventress also ranked very highly. Dare I dream for my boy Pong Krell? Not going to happen, but
deluxe. You never know. Could be deluxe.
We don't know.
Obi-Wan Kenobi and Mando disguise would be an easy kit bash that they wouldn't even have to spend $1 on, really.
We're coming full circle, but Pre Vizsla would be perfect as one of these Walmart exclusives. Get him a new helmet, a new jetpack, and Bob's your uncle.
Also, Dirge was recanonized recently, and he was a character I really liked when I was 13 years old. So I would really like to see what Hasbro could do in the modern era with that character.
I don't know if they have tooling that old, but the Dirge that came with the swoop bike is actually really articulated.
It's pretty good.
It's really articulated. So
they just need to fix some of the balance issues. It needs peg holes so that it can be put on a stand if need be.
Yeah.
The feet need to be redone and maybe some ankle articulation. But yeah. I mean, of course, I would prefer all new and not a rehash of something that I got when I was 13 years old. But yes, yes.
But there are some repaints that I want for this. Let me just throw them out in the universe real quick. Some figures, some clones that were never made in the animated line. Kit Fisto's Clone Commander, Commander Phil, and his droid, which was never made, and Captain Keeley from Season 3. Some clones made in Black Series, but not Vintage Collection, including Mace's 187th Battalion from Season 7. Not the purple versions, as much as I do like the purple versions. The Grey Camino clones that were made, appeared in the Bad Batch, were made in Black Series recently. I would like a repack of that 2014 Black Series Mace Windu with clone armor, perhaps to go along with his 187th. They need to add the Republic symbol on his gauntlets and fix some of the paint. But
I would prefer, as much as I do like that, and I would love to see that Mace in the Vintage Collection, I would prefer them do his version from the 2003 miniseries. The Black Series just got it this year. I mean, to mixed results, but I love the aesthetic of that character design. Like I love how Mace looks in the 03 series, and I think that would be an incredible Vintage Collection figure.
He has more of his chest armor looks sort of similar to like Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars version, so they could maybe reuse that. But
I think they could reuse a lot of stuff to make that character, or to make that look.
One other thing the Black Series got last year for Clone Wars that I think would be cool here would be a white Micro Series Grievous repaint. Now that they opened the door to those Micro Series figures last year. So yeah, there's some cool stuff they could do. And of course, people always want the Republic gunship to come back.
Yeah, I think at this point, it's just kind of, it's got to be intentional that they're not bringing it back.
Well, I don't know. Don't attribute to malice what can be attributed to anything else. But
listen, I know that, but also no.
Okay. Well, now would be the time, I think, to get the gunship out. If they were waiting, if they needed an opportunity, I think this is it. It would be popular anytime, but I think if they're gonna go in on this, it could happen.
The gunship and the ATTE, I would love either one to be both of them. I would love to be re-released.
There were a lot of good smaller $20 Clone Wars vehicles as well. If they wanted to repaint those and get them out, obviously they'd be
$80,
$50. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't know. Do you guys have any final thoughts on all this stuff as we can kind of put a button on this episode?
Evan's final thought is, I want to get the hell out of here. He has no patience anymore.
No, listen, if you want a genuine final thought from me, I've got one. If you guys have a minute, like it's a genuine one. I know, obviously, I've been very frustrated this episode. It's been seeping through quite a bit, and I apologize. I don't mean to be that guy that just sits there and complains and bitches all the time. That's not what I wanted.
We're a long way from the happy beeps, Evan, that we once knew.
Yeah, he's still around, but let me just say, I know I've thrown that whole TVC has all the fun dumbass line that's been echoing around in my head since I don't know who it even originated with at this point. I don't care. It was just, it's very frustrating to be a TVC collector right now. That said, despite all the frustration, despite what may seem as, unhinged anger that may be seeping through in this episode, really, it's not. Despite all that frustration, I still, I still have fun with this hobby. I still love collecting the vintage collection. My passion is still for this stuff. I'm very excited about everything that is coming, even the stuff that I'm less excited for. I'm still always excited for it, if that makes sense. And so when, the whole TVC has all the fun thing, you know what? And I've said this before a couple times, life is what you make it. We're trying to make it fun. We are trying to make our hobby fun. We are trying to get involved in ways and look at things, talk about the things that make us happy, talk about the things that we get frustrated with, do these deep dives, have these conversations. Yeah, so we do have plenty of fun. We have to make the fun ourselves because Hasbro won't make it for us quite frequently, but that's what it is. So yes, apologies for being a grump. I'm happy to be here. I'm still happy to be collecting TVC. I'm having some frustrating times with it all, but aren't we always? So,
I mean, a few months ago, we were riding high on the packaging being salvaged and the vintage collection staying, and it felt very positive there for a little while, and then that seemed to have quickly slipped away when we got so much less for Kenobi, we got so much less for Andor, and Black Series gets new sculpt after new sculpt, and they're very like, we're happy to announce a brand new from the ground up sculpt for the Black Series. And it's like, oh my god, eye roll.
And especially, half the time the Black Series collectors are like, we don't want that, snooze, boring. It's like,
right, they're not even appreciative of it. But anyway, I try not to be too negative. In the end, the vintage collection is still here. We should be grateful for that. We should be happy about that. Our beloved line is continuing. So I don't want to be too negative. Before we wrap up, I did maybe want to talk even very briefly about the fact that a HasLab project was not revealed at PulseCon. Do we have any concerns there?
Beyond the general concerns of the future of the line? No.
Well, no, because as we mentioned in the last, in the pre-PulseCon show, they announced the Razor Crest 2 years ago, and they announced the Rancor last year. We've had 2 failed Black Series HasLab since then. Even the Marvel seems to be having their first really struggling HasLab right now.
Yeah.
There's a HeroScape one or something I'm not really familiar with. It's also not doing so hot. Is HasLab in general something they need to rethink, and that I would love to discuss a lot in soon?
Yes. Let's not forget as well, we've still got a throne room knocking around, which none of us have paid for yet. Obviously at some point that money's coming out, and I guess they've got to be mindful of launching something that hits at the same time as that throne room, because people could be in deep, if you're not careful, and then you're going to end up with another failed one because people just physically can't afford it. So
yeah, we've still got 2 playsets coming next year between the throne room and the indoor bunkers. So I don't know what
vehicles. We want some vehicles.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I'm not too worried about the lack. Well, I'm not too worried about the lack of HasLab, but
I'm not either. Yeah. I think my biggest concern is just with how the Rancor went down and how the most recent Marvel Legends one is going down, and just the behavior of those communities around those, on top of the way that those campaigns are being run and the things are being offered. I think both Hasbro and the fans have lost the plot on what HasLab should be.
Yeah.
So I worry about HasLab as an idea. Like you said, John, is it time for them to maybe internally kind of reassess what they're doing with it?
I think, my concern is Hasbro taking the wrong message that, people don't want to drop $350 to $500 because it's too much money. Everybody's hurting economically right now. Inflation, yada, yada, yada. No one wants to fork out big money like that. I don't think that's true. I think that it just has to be what people are actually asking for,
I said it with the Marvel one. I mean, people ask, is that worth that money? And I think I said it's worth it if you want it. And that's the bottom line, isn't it? If you want that, when they brought out the Razor Crest, if you wanted it, you're going to get it. I know a lot of people, there was people out there saying it was expensive, but as collectors, it's something we want. We will find the money for it. I think people only start questioning it and saying it's not worth it when they genuinely feel, well, we don't really want that, don't really need it. And then you kind of start to pull away from it a bit and say, no, actually, we're not going to put my money into that. But I don't know. I mean, TVC's, it's hard when you're inside and looking at it from a TVC collector point of view, because for me, anything they throw at us, I'll take. Within reason, I think.
Yeah. We're like begging them to take our money.
Exactly. But out, looking outside at things that you don't really collect or don't really follow or understand. I mean, the Ghost Rider thing for me, it looks cool. I think it looks pretty cool. Is it worth it? I don't know, because I don't collect them, so I'm not interested in it. And I think half the time we always talk about perceived value, but it really comes down to, if you want it, you'll pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this before with other things. People sort of moan about $16 a figure or $23 a figure, $28 a figure, whatever you want to call it. And yes, we don't want to pay more, but there's figures in our collections that we've missed and we've gone back and bought for $40, $50, $60. Evan, I'm sure you've spent hundreds of dollars. I know you have.
No comment.
And again, yes, we don't want to pay that. We don't want Hasbro to be ramping up prices, but equally, as a collector, if it's something you want, you will pay for it. So, yes, don't get this as the wrong message. I'm not saying just charge us what you like, but I think it comes down to perceived value if you want it. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and the perceived value of these last few is not, for Marvel.
No,
you can spend $350, $400 and get a giant 3-foot figure with other figures or you can get a car that it's much smaller. It's not as detailed. It's not as intricate. That's whatever.
With characters that don't go with it.
Yes, that's
and like the Black Series, the lightsaber HasLab, which again, look behind me, guys. It's all lightsabers. That one, that whole campaign, it just felt like no one cared. It felt like Hasbro was like, yeah, we just did the job. There's no tears. Eat our shit and enjoy. Like it just was totally, and it was gone. It was like one day of people talking about it, and then it failed from there on. Like no one cared. There was nothing behind it. It was the lamest attempt at a HasLab ever.
Nobody asked for it. Again, it comes down to nobody asked for that. Nobody asked for that.
I'd love a Riva lightsaber. I don't want to pay $500 for one that was made by a company that obviously didn't want to make it in the first place. So
I don't know about that, but one last thing on the HasLab for me is that I don't like that they keep making concessions in campaigns that are failing.
Yeah, don't reveal all the tiers. You got to earn that.
Well, yeah, like with the Rancor, of course, they added Malakili. We said we wouldn't talk about that, but whatever. Because people whined and moaned and said, we're only going to back this if it has Malakili or Ula. And they said, okay, we'll give you Malakili, even though we said we wouldn't. It's going to be part of the base offering. They're changing the base offering.
Yeah, they didn't even make it a tier. They changed the base offering, which was just crazy.
And with Engine of Vengeance, they were going to do an early bird figure, and then they didn't. And they said, okay, we'll still give you the parts for the early bird figure anyway. You'll just add it to the other figure. You'll still get all the parts for this figure. It's like, all right, okay. So now I don't need to ever back an early bird figure because you're still going to give me all the new stuff anyway.
And what's crazy is that it slid back about 1,000 backers since its high point. Like, again, sliding in the wrong direction.
And then the first tier was a Mephisto figure at 12,000. It didn't get anywhere near there. And then they said, just kidding. Actually, that's the second tier. The first tier is his other character at 10,000. And it's like, okay, well, you keep changing the rules for ones that fail, but they seem to, as we said, reward failure and punish success to it. Not punish success, but
we didn't get reveals.
Ignore success.
We didn't get tiers revealed very quickly for the Razor Crest when we were smashing through them. But
they were
I think they were just struggling to keep up.
Yeah. They were unprepared.
Yeah. I had happy beeps going for a second there. Then we got on this. You know what?
I'm sorry. Like, again, apologies. I don't mean to be so grumpy and sad beeps.
I think it is a feeling in the general community. I think,
it's not the most particularly happy time in this hobby.
No,
so.
and that's...
I'm not unhappy. I think I said this the other day. I actually just feel a little bit bored, a bit disinterested at the moment because, I mean, you look through... I know I'm slightly ahead of you guys in terms of what we get in, although not with all the figures. But I look through my pre-order list, and at the moment, it's never been as thin on the ground as it is now. But also, the next one I've got listed is literally February, March. Now, I know we might get them a little bit earlier, and sometimes they do come through a little bit earlier. But I'm sitting here now thinking, well, okay, even if Hasbro reveal a whole load of figures tomorrow, I'm going to be looking at June, July, August next year before I get those figures. So for me, the only thing that's keeping me happy beeps at the moment is Disney, and it's all those Disney droids that are coming through. They're the one thing that I'm actually looking forward to, and that's for me. I don't say I'm not unhappy, but I just kind of feel a little bit disconnected because I'm not getting those. I'm not getting something straight away to look forward to. It's all like, even the throne room's a year away almost, and it's just that's what I think is it's that lack of anything coming in between, and you don't feel there's going to be anything. I mean, if the Andor figures dropped soon, that would be great, but it doesn't look like they're going to, like the Obi-Wan figures did. So again, it doesn't feel like there's going to be anything to fill that gap between now and next year, really.
Yeah. And that's why it's like I kind of jumped back into, rebuilding my lightsaber collection that I sold off the majority of during the pandemic. Like, I like collecting Star Wars, and just there's not much for me to collect. So, yeah.
Yeah, we all say that right after our credit cards got pounded like every day for a month. So I think we just
Well, give it another month when you're kind of caught up with where I am now.
True.
You might find you in that same hole. I say, and that's the thing. I think because I'm slightly ahead, I'm noticing it where you're still getting stuff coming in at the moment, and I think that you'll find that you're going to get that dip as well. And it's great, fine. It gives you a chance to get your bank balance back to normal. Yeah, but you just look forward and go, okay, what's coming? Nothing's coming yet.
And then just to be discouraged, going back to the whole pipeline thing, and then look at the pipeline. It's like, okay, the majority of that is just repacks. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah. But on a happy note, I do really like Andor. That's rad. I'm glad we're at least getting a Cassian Andor figure. So,
and we've got some new shows coming as well. We've
got new shows coming.
Tales of the Jedi is only 10 days away, for God's sake.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
A week away by the time this comes out, probably. But
and there will never be figures for that. Womp, womp.
So I was happy for a second there. Okay. I will say, okay, just to give a little bit of positivity before we close it out on a sad note again, probably. Like Lewis mentioned, I am glad we've been begging them. We've been ragging on them for not doing anniversaries in this line.
Yes.
They are finally actually doing something about that. TVC wasn't around for A New Hope 40th. They didn't really do anything for Empire Strikes Back 40th. We're getting a dedicated focus for Return of the Jedi 40th, which is awesome. I'm very happy about that. Hopefully there's not only repacks. Hopefully there will be more newness coming. We don't know. Let's stay tuned. The Indoor Bunker is a nice start. Clone Wars 20th, it's a little bit of a head scratcher after coming off of No Attack of the Clones 20th, but hopefully they can get some Attack of the Clones stuff in there.
Yeah.
There's
Count Dooku.
Yes, please, Dooku number 1. Andor, amazing show. We are getting some figures from it. We always want more. That's always still the thing. Anyway.
We'll always want more. It doesn't matter how many we get. We'll always want more.
Yeah. I'm going to stop talking before I get sad again. So
Well, on that note, we'll be doing some posts on Return of the Jedi 40th and Clone Wars 20th this month, and then heading back in to finish the 96 next month and Balance the Scales Hasbro after that. So the rest of the calendar year for us is going to be busy. And going back to what I said, I do really value this aspect of the hobby, is the community and being able to do these kind of things together with, people that are awesome. So that is happy beeps for me. Right now, actually, as we're recording this, Tyler and I are going to be spinning off in about an hour to go sit down on and do or participate in Bosk's Bounty 150th episode live stream. We'll be joining him as guests. Super thankful for him. So when you're listening to this, and if you missed that live stream, head over to Bosk's Bounty on YouTube and check it out. I'm positive it will be there. We'll try not to make fools of ourselves. I hope you enjoy. It's always a good time with Bosk. He's also got John Miko from the Facebook group. He will be the guest before we are on. Anyway,
sorry that I'm not going on. Sorry, Lewis. That
yes,
I'm just
I've
so
got to read
tired
at some point. But no, I'm just saying I'm glad you're leaving this in a really good mood to go and join Tim because
we're all feeling great. It's gonna be good. But the usual stuff. Hey, gang, if you like the show, or even just want to pretend that you like the show, or just want to be even mildly supportive, be sure to rate and review the podcast via the link in our link tree on our Instagram at SWTVC. Leaving ratings and reviews helps us out quite a bit. And you know what? I'm going to start reading the reviews that we get on the show for further incentives. So, that's the really beggy, please help us, we love you sort of thing that I'll tack on here. Other than that, Any final notes from you guys?
Boss Bounty just went live, so you got 1 hour to join that. So get
I
excited.
better go get my coffee. Maybe I will be happy. Maybe that's why I wasn't happy beefs today. I got too many ARC troopers and too little caffeine. So, all right, gang. Well, on that note, that is it for this week's episode of the SWTVC podcast. I'm Evan, and as always, balance the scales, Hasbro, back TVC, finish the 96, and may the Force be with you.